On my wedding eve, scandal broke. My fiancé, Ross Vance, had gotten his mistress, Stella Reed, pregnant, 5 months along. When he called, his voice was detached, almost clinical. It was a mistake. Just make sure the engagement party goes smoothly. Canceling would disgrace both families, and your grandfather's health can't take the shock. After I hung up, my social media feed betrayed him. A photo of him tenderly holding Stella's belly, captioned, "Counting down to our little miracle." That evening, Ross skipped the engagement party entirely. On a video call, he was reading a fairy tale to Stella's stomach. "She needs bonding time," he said. "You take care of the family obligations. The Vance heir is still precious. After the baby is born, it will be sent abroad. You can be the fun stepmother on holidays. Mrs. Vance remains your title." I stared at the diamond glinting on his finger and laughed, sharp and bitter. "Ross, this is over." "Don't be ridiculous," he snapped. I hung up and called Conrad Vance. "Mr. Vance, I hear you might be looking for a wife. Consider me. Sterling women are fertile. I can give you all the sons you want. One heir is lonely. Let's remedy that." There was a pause. Then Conrad's voice, hoarse with shock, replied, "Serafina? What on earth are you saying?" "Nonsense." I scoffed, letting my amusement and scorn bleed into every word. "Have you seen the news about your precious son and his 5 months pregnant mistress? I find him disgusting." "I'm serious, Mr. Vance. I'm moving on." A long silence followed, then his voice unsteady now. "This can't be handled over the phone. I'll come right away." "Perfect," I said, my voice cool, yet tinged with a dangerous thrill. "I'll be waiting." Conrad Vance, barely 35, was in the prime of his life. Yet nature had been cruel. He could never have children. After years of failed IVF attempts, he had adopted Ross from a distant branch of the family. The alliance between the Sterlings and the Vances had always hinged on one thing: the legendary fertility of our women, a trait that ensured the dynasty's continuity. Ross's betrayal, knocking up his mistress right before our wedding, was a betrayal I could not accept, and I refused to quietly endure it. Conrad arrived faster than I anticipated. He stood in the doorway, impeccably dressed, but his face betrayed conflicting emotions. "Serafina," I didn't allow him to finish. I grabbed his tie, yanking him inside, slamming the door behind him. I rose on my toes and silenced his questions with a kiss that left no room for doubt. My fingers worked deftly on the first button of his shirt, sliding beneath the fabric with quiet command. Every motion was a statement. There was no hesitation, no shyness, only the undeniable finality of someone burning their bridges. I felt the tension coiling through him, a war of reason and desire, until finally, desire won. Afterward, Conrad held me close, his voice low and rough. "I have urgent business overseas. I leave tomorrow, and it may be a while before I return. Wait for me." "And the wedding?" I asked, lifting my gaze to his. Conrad met my gaze, his eyes smoldering with intensity, his voice commanding. "The wedding will go on as planned. I'll be back in time. You are the Sterling heir, Serafina. You are the matriarch the Vance family needs." With that, he straightened his suit and left, leaving only his promise lingering in the room. The moment the door clicked shut, my phone vibrated violently against the nightstand. "Ross." His voice carried its usual arrogance, now tinged with impatience. "Serafina, come here. Stella's morning sickness is bad. She needs company. It'll be good practice for you, learning how to care for a pregnant woman. I'm taking her to an art exhibit to lift her spirits." He actually expected me to babysit his mistress? To train under her pregnancy? The absurdity almost made me laugh. "Ross, I'm not your nursemaid." "Wrong number," I said, ice in my voice. A sigh, exasperated, his tone patronizing. "She's carrying a Vance heir. It's demanding work. As future matriarch, this is part of your duty." I laughed sharply, bitterly. "Ross, your dedication is touching. But we are finished. Your children, your helpers, none of it concerns me. Stop calling." I hung up. I sank back onto the bed, fury knotting in my chest. Picking up my phone for distraction, a news alert stabbed at me. "Vance heir dotes on mystery woman at art gala, baby bump steals the show." Clicking the link, the high-resolution photos hit me like a slap. Ross gently guided a visibly pregnant Stella, his head bent toward her belly in a way he had never once done for me in 3 years. A sharp pain gripped me. 3 years of birthdays, always last-minute gifts chosen by assistants. When had he ever offered this tenderness to me? I needed to escape, to reclaim something of myself. I decided to go for my final wedding gown fitting. But the moment I pushed open the salon doors, my blood ran cold. There, in front of the floor-to-ceiling mirror, stood Stella Reed, her 5-month bump straining against the seams of my hand-embroidered, 6-month labor-of-love gown. The waist had been crudely pinned, the silhouette distorted. Her lips curled into dissatisfaction as she jabbed at her stomach, complaining to the shop assistant. "This is too tight. Let out the waist at least 3 inches. And the bust, it's restrictive. Loosen it." Every stitch of that dress represented dreams shattered by Ross. White-hot fury surged through me. I took a slow breath, forcing myself to calm the storm inside. My voice, cold and deliberate, cut through the room. "Remove it. That is my dress." Stella recoiled, clutching her belly, as if I had struck her. She scuttled behind Ross, whose head whipped around at my tone, eyes wide. "Serafina." Ross's brow knitted. "Could you lower your voice? You're frightening Stella and the baby." I laughed bitterly. "Ross, that gown took 6 months. Every stitch, every detail. What right does she have to wear it and ruin it?" His expression hardened. "She has the right. She's the bride. And given her condition, the alterations are necessary." I froze. "What?" "You and I will sign the marriage license," he said softly, eyes on Stella. "But she carries my child. She's suffered enough. The ceremony, she will stand at the altar. She deserves recognition." "What did you just say?" The chill in my body was immediate. My family would be humiliated. His tone was firm. "Serafina, I know it's unfair. But for the sake of my heir, please, try to understand." "Understand?" My voice rose, drawing glances. "Ross, you expect me to play a part in this farce? I am the legal bride, yet she stands on the altar, flaunting her bump, soaking in praise. Is she to have the wedding night too? And you expect me, your wife, to raise her child? Do you take me for some street waif you can mold and discard?" Stella sobbed softly, hand on her belly. "Miss Sterling, please. I know my place. I just wanted to wear a wedding dress once the baby is innocent." Ross's eyes turned to ice. "This is how it will be. If not for my father, do you think I'd marry you at all?" I stared, the last flicker of warmth in my heart extinguishing, replaced by sharp, unyielding hatred. Apparently, Conrad had not informed him of the groom change yet. "Fine," I said, steady and cold. "We'll see who's replaced on the wedding day." Ross's frown deepened, surprise flickering across his face. Stella lifted her chin slightly, a victorious gleam in her eyes. In the days that followed, photos of Ross and Stella's maternity wedding shoot dominated tabloids. The media, playing along, framed Stella as the true sterling heiress. Concerned friends called. Whispers spread like poison. "She's lost everything. She let a pregnant mistress take her place." I ignored it all. Grandfather's condition had worsened, and doctors insisted on 24/7 care. I stayed by his side, shielding him from the scandal. Some things, however, could not be contained. Arm in arm, Stella entered my grandfather's private ICU room. Outside, I carried a thermos, witnessing the spectacle. Her sickly sweet, theatrical voice echoed. "Grandpa Sterling, look. Our wedding photos. Doesn't Ross and I look perfect? You have to be at the head table to see your great-grandchild." My grandfather's face drained of color, chest heaving. The monitor screamed alarms. "Grandfather," I cried, slamming the emergency button, the thermos clattering to the floor. I lunged forward. "Miss Sterling, don't be upset," Stella began, dripping with feigned concern. I shoved her aside. "Get out. Out with your child." Doctors rushed to stabilize my grandfather. Ross tried to touch me. I slapped his hand away. "Don't. You knew and still brought them here." Stella hid behind him. "We just wanted to invite him to the wedding." "Serafina, calm down. If you hurt Stella or the baby, can you handle that?" he barked, seizing my wrist. "Calm down? You're killing him." I struggled. "It was an accident," he snapped. "The world thinks Stella is the sterling heiress. If your family is absent, her cover collapses. Having your grandfather there keeps appearances." A bitter smile twisted my lips. "Ross, are you blind or heartless? You know what she is. She is no sterling. She is a parasite who clawed her way to the top, flaunting a child not hers." Crack. Ross's face darkened instantly, storm clouds gathering in his eyes. He swung his hand and struck me across the cheek. Stars exploded in my vision. A sharp ringing filled my ears, and hot, searing pain shot across my face. "Even though you're my legal bride," he hissed, stepping closer, eyes venomous, "the only woman I, Ross Vance, recognize as my wife is Stella. That baby in her belly is my true heir. You will show her respect." The words were daggers, twisting in my chest, igniting a fire of rage that had been smoldering for 3 long years. 3 years, and this was what I meant to him. Nothing. "You don't need to attend the wedding," he said flatly, a final warning in his voice. "Stay here with your grandfather." He gestured down the hall, and bodyguards closed in around me. "Keep her here. Don't let her leave this floor," he commanded before escorting Stella away. I could feel their eyes on me, but I refused to be cowed. I touched my still flat stomach, feeling the quiet strength of the life growing inside me. Slowly, deliberately, I pulled out my phone and dialed a number. On the day of Ross's wedding, Stella sat at a lavish vanity, her fingers brushing over the diamond-studded fabric of the altered gown that now fit her pregnant belly. Her reflection smiled back, triumph twisting her features. So, what if Serafina Sterling was the true heiress, the darling of high society? Today, Stella was the bride, wearing my dress, bearing the Vance family's golden heir, stealing the spotlight. Meanwhile, I was trapped, tending to a sick old man while she claimed what should have been mine. Downstairs, Ross greeted the sparse gathering of guests, anxiety tightening around his chest. The vast hall he had imagined teeming with socialites remained eerily empty, the echoes of footsteps mocking him. Beneath the floral arch, only a handful of minor reporters fumbled with cameras, flashes weak and uninspired. "Ross," Stella's hand rested on her belly, worry in her wide eyes. "Why are there so few people?" The knot of dread in his stomach tightened into panic. He summoned a senior staff member. "Where's Mr. Gable? Bring the coordinators immediately." Only a young, unfamiliar attendant appeared. "Where's Mr. Gable?" Ross demanded, face pale. The boy trembled. Sir, he's busy with the master's wedding," he said. "If you need anything." Ross froze. "My father's wedding? What?" The boy stammered, terrified. "Upstairs. Crystal Ballroom, the master, marrying Miss Serafina Sterling. It should start any moment." Ross staggered, lips quivering. "Impossible, impossible." Stella clutched her belly, panicked. "Ross, what's happening? Is Serafina trying to get back at us?" His mind was consumed by one thought, Serafina and Conrad. He shoved the attendant aside and bolted for the elevator. "Ross, wait." Stella struggled to keep pace, but the door shut before she could reach him. Outside the Crystal Ballroom, the scene before Ross shattered everything he believed. The hall glittered with light, filled with business tycoons and high society who had spurned his wedding. Champagne flutes sparkled as guests laughed and mingled. Beneath a grand crystal chandelier, Conrad Vance, in a pristine white tuxedo, led me down the aisle. This gown was flawless, haute couture perfection that hugged my figure, trained shimmering like starlight. The way Conrad looked at me melted any remaining fear or doubt. "And now, the groom may place the ring on the bride's finger," the officiant announced. Conrad took my hand, sliding a dazzling diamond onto my finger with gentle precision. Boom. Ross barreled through the doors, the crash silencing the room. Whispers swept across the crowd. "Ross Vance? What's he doing here? Isn't he the one getting married downstairs?" "I heard the pregnant woman is his mistress." Ross staggered toward the altar, wild-eyed, voice hoarse. "Dad, what's going on?" Conrad's expression remained calm, almost amused. "I'm marrying Serafina. She is my wife." "But she was my fiancé," Ross shouted, voice breaking. "This is impossible." I let out a cold, small laugh. "Ross, our engagement ended the moment I learned Stella was carrying your child. Did you forget? And aren't you having your own wedding downstairs? What happened? Did you cancel?" Ross's face drained of color. "Serafina, you can't do this. You can't marry my father." "And why not?" I asked, voice icy. "You, Ross Vance, betrayed our love, got your mistress pregnant, and demanded I raise your child. Why can't I choose a better man?" Conrad stepped forward, arm around my waist, asserting his claim. "Ross, Serafina is my wife. Respect her." "No," Ross roared. "You can't be together. My reputation." "Oh, now you care about reputation?" I sneered. When you had Stella wear my dress and steal my name, did you imagine this day wouldn't come? Guests murmured, some already pulling out phones, recording the unfolding drama. Ross's face burned crimson, mottled with fury, but words failed him. At that moment, Stella arrived, clutching her rounded belly with one hand and pressing the other to her chest, breath coming in shallow gasps. "Ross," she began weakly, then froze as her eyes took in the scene. Her face drained of color instantly. All eyes turned to her. Is that the pregnant mistress? Wow, she actually came? In a wedding dress, with a baby bump. Does she have no shame? The weight of judgment bore down on Stella. She had imagined this day as perfect, yet it had turned into public humiliation. "Stella." Ross rushed to her side. "Why are you here? You should be resting." Tears welled in her eyes. I was worried." "Ross, what's happening? Why is Serafina with your father?" Conrad's expression hardened, his voice booming with authority that silenced the room. "Enough. This is my wedding, not a stage for your drama." He nodded to the officiant, who cleared his throat. "And now, the bride may place the ring on the groom's finger." I lifted the custom platinum band and slid it onto Conrad's finger slowly, deliberately, under the gaze of every witness in the room. "No," Ross bellowed, lunging forward, only to be restrained by security. "Serafina, you can't do this." I turned to him, a triumphant smirk curling my lips. "Didn't you say I wasn't good enough for you? Looks like your father will have to do." A ripple of laughter and murmured astonishment passed through the guests. Ross's face twisted in rage and humiliation. Stella, wincing from discomfort, stumbled forward. "Miss Sterling, how can you? What about your grandfather? He's still in the hospital." "That's enough." My voice cut like a blade. "You dare mention my grandfather? If it weren't for your deliberate provocations, would he even be in danger?" I stepped toward her, each movement filled with controlled fury. "You thought wearing my gown would make you a Sterling? You're a shameless mistress, playing the victim before me." Stella paled, backing away, shielding her stomach. I didn't. "No." I sneered. "Then explain the child in your belly. An immaculate conception." "Serafina," Ross shouted. "Watch your mouth. That's my child." I turned back to him, eyes blazing with contempt. "Ross, you need to watch yours. From now on, I am the Vance matriarch. You will address me with respect." His face darkened further. Conrad stepped forward, commanding the room effortlessly. "Today, I, Conrad Vance, marry Miss Serafina Sterling. Thank you all for witnessing our joy. Let the celebration begin." Applause erupted, though whispers and sideways glances lingered. Conrad Vance was a titan. No one dared challenge him openly. I looked down at Ross and Stella, a victorious smile on my lips. "If you're here to celebrate, feel free to sit. But if you intend trouble, don't blame me if you're removed." Conrad noticed Ross's tense expression and stepped protectively in front of me, his gaze icy. "Ross, your conduct has been deeply disappointing," Conrad said quietly, his voice carrying weight that silenced even the murmurs. "Serafina is my wife, the Vance matriarch. To disrespect her is to disrespect me and this family." Ross's pride pushed him forward. "Dad, she was my fiancé. Aren't you ashamed of taking your son's woman?" Conrad's scoff was calm, cutting. "Ashamed? You got your mistress pregnant on the eve of your wedding and tried to replace your fiancé at the altar. That is shameful. Serafina chose a worthy man. What's wrong with that?" Guests murmured in agreement. Affairs might be tolerated, but flaunting a mistress in the bride's place? That was beyond the pale. Conrad's tone hardened further as he pointed to Stella. "And you, Ross, parading your pregnant mistress in Serafina's gown, going to the hospital to provoke her dying grandfather. Tell me, was that acceptable?" Stella turned ghostly white, realizing Conrad knew about the hospital stunt. Ross opened his mouth, but the weight of his father's authority and the eyes of the entire hall silenced him. "Now, take your mistress to a corner and remain there. Behave if you wish to stay a part of this family," Conrad commanded. Ross's face was a mask of fury and humiliation. Fists clenched, he knew he had lost. Grudgingly, he helped Stella to her feet and, under a tide of pitying and contemptuous stares, they shuffled to the farthest table, a place of exile for those without power. Stella sobbed. "Ross, what do we do now?" "Serafina, she's really your stepmother." Ross's gaze was dark with hatred, fixed on Conrad and me as we received congratulations. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. The officiant's voice rang again. The bride and groom may now share their first kiss. Conrad looked at me with warmth and sincerity. I met him halfway, rising on my toes, and our lips met as flashes from cameras lit the room, sealing our union in triumph. Though the kiss had been a ceremonial formality, I felt a surprising calm settle over me. Conrad's arms were steady, a safe harbor amidst the storm of anger and revenge I had navigated. The applause thundered around us, but in the far corner, Ross sat slumped, his face pale as ash. After the ceremony, congratulations poured in from all sides. Arm in arm with Conrad, I accepted each compliment with poise, deliberately ignoring the miserable pair in the corner. Mrs. Vance, congratulations, a society matron gushed, grasping my hand. You look radiant. Thank you, I replied with a flawless smile, hiding every trace of the fury that had burned moments before. My phone buzzed sharply. A call from the hospital. My heart jumped. Hello, I whispered. Miss Sterling, your grandfather is awake. His condition has stabilized and he's asking for you, the nurse reported. Relief surged through me. Tears pricked my eyes. Thank you. I'll be right there. Conrad noticed the change in my expression. What is it? My grandfather, he's awake and stable, I said, voice thick with emotion. I need to see him. Of course. I'll come with you, he said instantly. We moved through the hall, passing Ross's corner. I paused, letting my gaze fall on him. Ross, I said softly, each word sharp as glass. From now on, when you address me, you will call me mother. His face flushed crimson, fists tightening, but before the crowd, he could do nothing. Stella shrank under the weight of our gaze. Satisfied, I turned back to Conrad, sliding my arm through his. The click of my heels echoed like a victory anthem as we left, the whispers and stifled laughter following us like a choir of justice. At the hospital, my grandfather's eyes were clear, though his body weak. When he saw me with Conrad, a complex emotion flickered across his face. Serafina, he murmured. You two are married? I squeezed his hand. Yes, grandfather. Conrad and I are married. He studied us for a long moment before exhaling softly. Good. Conrad is a fine man. Better than that ungrateful boy. Conrad stepped forward. Grandfather, I promise to take care of Serafina. You have my word. Peace settled over my grandfather's features. Conrad had even dispatched his own men to the hospital the moment I called for my confinement. I looked at Conrad with deep gratitude. Thank you, if not for you, he might. You don't need to thank me, he said gently, brushing my cheek. You are my wife. Protecting you and those you love is my responsibility. Warmth spread through me at his words. Grandfather, you should rest, I murmured. We'll go now. He nodded weakly. The doctors are here. I'm fine. Night had fallen by the time we left. Conrad's driver waited, and the car glided through the streets toward the Vance estate. I leaned back, watching city lights blur past, my mind a whirlwind of triumph, exhaustion, and relief. Today had been a dream, a nightmare, and a victory all in one. I was officially Ross Vance's stepmother. What are you thinking about? Conrad asked softly, breaking the silence. Nothing, I said, unsure how to express everything swirling inside me. He remained quiet for a moment, then continued. Serafina, I know this marriage began as a way to take back what was stolen from you, to exact revenge on Ross. But for me, it has never been about duty or securing an heir. From the moment we met, I was drawn to you. I froze. His sincerity caught me off guard. I know it's sudden, he said, eyes intense, but I want you to understand that whatever started as revenge, I take this marriage seriously. I will honor you, respect you, and care for you. The car rolled through the gates of the Vance estate and stopped before the grand house. Conrad stepped out, offering me his hand. A gentle breeze lifted my gown like petals in the wind as we descended, greeted by the lined-up household staff. Master, madam, welcome home, the head butler said with a bow. Prepare a light supper for the madam, Conrad instructed. She has had a long day. The warm glow of crystal chandeliers filled the grand living room. Are you tired? He asked. Would you like to rest? Not yet. You must be exhausted, I replied. He smiled. Seeing you happy is worth everything. A delicate supper arrived, a fragrant soup, and a few exquisite dishes. The warmth of the food helped me finally relax. Conrad, I asked cautiously, what will you do about Ross? His face darkened. His behavior was disgraceful. As heir, he has dishonored this family. I will be reconsidering his position in the company. A man without responsibility is unfit to inherit the Vance legacy. A surge of satisfaction coursed through me. Today, Ross, you had a taste of the consequences of your betrayal. And Stella? I asked, curiosity edged with frost. Conrad's expression hardened. A shameless woman like that thought she could worm her way into the Vance family? She overestimated herself. The next morning, sunlight filtered softly through the curtains. On the nightstand lay a bouquet of pristine white roses with a card. Good morning, my wife. Conrad. A warmth spread through me. Conrad's consideration was a quiet, comforting presence that had become indispensable. After dressing, I found him at the breakfast table, absorbed in the financial news. Good morning, I said gently. Good morning, my wife, he replied, rising to pull out my chair. Did you sleep well? Very well, thank you. The butler hurried in, face somber. Master. The young master has arrived at the gate, with Miss Reed. Conrad and I exchanged knowing glances. Let them in, he said calmly. Let's see what else they want. A few moments later, Ross entered, supporting a pale, tear-streaked Stella. He looked exhausted, as if he hadn't slept in days. Dad, Ross began, voice heavy. I need to talk to you. Conrad set down his coffee. There's nothing left to discuss. Your intentions were clear at the wedding. I came to apologize, Ross muttered, teeth clenched. I acted rashly. Said things I shouldn't have. I scoffed. A little late for apologies, don't you think? You didn't seem worried about consequences yesterday. Stella suddenly dropped to her knees, clutching her belly, sobbing. Madam, Mrs. Vance, please, for the sake of the innocent child, forgive us. I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have been with Ross, shouldn't have gotten pregnant, shouldn't have caused trouble at the wedding. But the baby is innocent. Her performance was flawless. If I were still the naive woman I once was, perhaps I might have been moved. But I saw her for exactly what she was. I stood, looking down at her. You claim the child is innocent. What about my grandfather? When your actions provoked him into a heart attack, nearly killing him, was he not innocent? She had no reply, only more tears. Ross stepped immediately in front of her. Seraph. Mother. Stella regrets what she did. Please give her a chance. Hearing him call me mother was a sharp, intoxicating taste of victory. My expression remained neutral. Ross, yesterday, you were defiant. What changed? His face burned with shame. I was blind. I see my mistake now. Conrad's voice cut through, cold and commanding. Ross, stop the theatrics. What do you truly want? Ross and Stella exchanged anxious glances before he spoke. Dad, I'm asking for a chance to remain at the company. I swear I won't make mistakes like this again. And, Stella added, voice trembling, we hope the child will be recognized by the Vance family. He carries your blood, Ross. It was clear. Ross feared disinheritance, and Stella feared her child becoming a nameless outcast. Conrad's laugh was cold, humorless. Recognized? You think the Vance family acknowledges illegitimate children? But, Ross began. No buts, Conrad interrupted sharply. As of yesterday, you are no longer the Vance heir. Your corporate position will be reassigned. Your child will not be acknowledged by this family, nor will we accept any responsibility for him. Stella's face drained of color, shock overtaking her. No. Dad, you can't do this. Ross shouted. I'm your only son. No, you're not, Conrad said, rising to his full height. You forget you were adopted. And what use is a son who impregnates his mistress and ruins his father's wedding? He turned to me, eyes softening. Serafina is my wife now. In the future, everything this family holds will belong to our children. Ross froze. Dad, what do you mean you, and her a child? Conrad's gaze was unwavering. That is a private matter between my wife and me. You needn't concern yourself. Stella cried out, despair etched in every line of her face. How could this happen? What will happen to my baby? What does your baby have to do with us? I said icily. You should have considered the consequences when you got pregnant. Too late for tears now. Ross fell to his knees, bowing his head. Dad. I know I was wrong. Please, give me another chance. I can't lose everything. Watching the proud Ross grovel was a dark, satisfying thrill. Conrad's expression remained unflinching.
Rise.
You are an embarrassment. Dad, Ross began. Enough. Conrad's voice cut like steel. From this day forward, you and this woman will vacate Vance properties. I will provide a sum of money, but do not think of returning, and do not imagine your child will bear the Vance name. Stella's eyes rolled back as she collapsed. Ross scrambled to catch her, chaos erupting around them. I stood silently, untouched by their panic. Call an ambulance, Ross shouted. The paramedics arrived swiftly and carried Stella away. Ross followed, throwing me one last look, a mixture of hatred, disbelief, and defeat. A sudden wave of nausea struck me, and I rushed to the bathroom. Over the toilet, I retched, the reality settling in. Counting the days, nearly a month had passed since that fateful night. Conrad followed me, concern etched across his handsome features. When he saw my pallor, a flicker of hope lit his eyes. Serafina, are you? I nodded weakly, my hand resting lightly on my stomach. I think I might be pregnant. The words hung in the air, leaving him momentarily speechless. After a long, tense pause, he spoke, his voice thick with restrained excitement. We're going to the hospital.
Now.
The doctor confirmed it, and I stared at the tiny shape flickering on the ultrasound screen, my heart a tangle of awe, fear, and joy. Congratulations, Mrs. Vance, the doctor said warmly. The baby is perfectly healthy. Conrad's hand gripped mine tightly, his eyes shining with a deep, tender pride. Serafina, he whispered. Thank you. On the way home, he was practically glowing, a smile permanently etched across his face. I'm going to be a father, he murmured, almost to himself. Then, with a boyish grin, he swept me into his arms and spun me around. Serafina, I'm so happy. I laughed, the sound light and genuine. Perhaps this marriage had begun as an act of revenge, but slowly, quietly, it was becoming something entirely different. 3 months later, my baby bump had begun to show. Conrad treated me like I was made of glass, catering to my every whim. One afternoon, as I wandered the garden, a commotion at the gate drew my attention. Let me in. I need to see my father. It was Ross. I hurried to the gate and found him alone, gaunt, disheveled, a far cry from the polished air he once was. Ross, I asked, surprise and caution in my voice. Where's Stella? Why are you here alone? He looked at me, his eyes a tangle of grief, guilt, and something else I couldn't name. She's dead. I froze. What? Stella, she died in childbirth. The baby didn't survive either, he said, voice raw, broken. It was all my fault. Though I had hated her, the news still shocked me. But along with that shock came a strange sense of release. I came to tell my father, Ross continued, that I'm leaving the country. I might never come back. I studied his broken face, feeling the fire of my old hatred for him cool into quiet, detached pity. I'll tell him, I said softly, placing a hand on my growing belly. Ross's gaze lingered there for a long, unreadable moment. Then, without another word, he turned and walked away. Conrad emerged from the house and wrapped his arms around me from behind. What did he say? He's leaving the country. Stella is dead, I whispered, leaning into him. It's all over. He said nothing more, just held me, stroking my hair gently, grounding me in the present. Yes, he murmured, it's over. And our new life is just beginning. I lifted my face to his, my eyes finally free of anger and calculation, filled instead with hope. Our child will be so happy. Of course, he replied, pressing a gentle kiss to my forehead. Because he'll have the best mother in the world. As the sun dipped below the horizon, we stood there, holding each other. The ghosts of the past, the betrayals, the schemes, the heartache, had finally been laid to rest, replaced by the warmth of a love I never expected to find. Serafina Sterling had her revenge. But more importantly, she had found her happiness.